Hey guys, welcome to Chapter 5, Section 2. In this section, I want to go over the programming standards for building a WordPress theme. And in the last section, we went over finding and downloading a third-party WordPress theme and then installing it and enabling it on our site. What I want to do is create our own theme with our own programming, and if you're not a computer programmer, don't get too scared because there's not a lot to it. It's going to help you if you have a basic understanding of HTML and CSS. The dynamic functionality comes from PHP, but it's absolutely fine if you don't know PHP because we're just simply going to be inserting small statements or functions into our template, so it's absolutely fine. So why build a custom WordPress theme? There's a couple different reasons. These are just the ones I could come up with. If you want to create a unique look for your site that no one else has, if you download even the most beautiful theme you can find for WordPress, there's a good chance, well, there's actually a definite chance that someone else out there has the same theme. Most people, I don't want to say most, but many people don't mind this because, what are the chances that one customer is going to go on your site and someone else's site with that theme? But I mean, if you want something that's totally original, then you would create a custom theme. You might want to create a theme because you can't find what you want anywhere else. You can't find any third-party themes that give you that feel or that look that you want for your site. If you're a developer, you could submit you could create themes and submit them to WordPress.org, or you could actually sell them to a third party, or you could use a service like ThemeForest, and there's a couple other ones where you can actually sell templates. So that would be more for developers or people that are looking to become a WordPress developer. So again, I just kind of went over this. HTML and CSS, it's great if you have a basic understanding of those, HTML5 or XHTML. PHP, you need to know very little, but I would say that you could know nothing, and you could follow this tutorial fine. You'll be able to create this theme fine, even if you know absolutely no PHP at all. JavaScript is optional when you're creating themes. We're not going to use JavaScript, but you can if you want to do things like drop down menus, or I don't know, maybe Ajax search or something like that, but we're not going to use that. We're not going to do any JavaScript. So theme development standards, this comes from WordPress.org. All themes should be well structured and error-free as far as the PHP goes. It should be valid HTML and clean and valid CSS. And you should also follow the design guidelines at WordPress.org. And if you're going to really get into building themes, I'd suggest you check out all the documentation at WordPress.org. There's a ton of it, and there's a ton of help, and it's a really good site. The reason I can develop WordPress themes is solely because of WordPress.org. Alright, so in any WordPress theme, there's a couple, every file falls into a category. First we have the style sheets. You have to have, well, I don't know if you have to have, but most themes do have a style.css, which is the main style sheet for the theme. Yeah, you do have to have that. It's not optional. And then you get template files, which there could be just a couple, or you could have a ton of them. It depends on how intricate you want your theme and your site. A template file would be like index.php, header.php, footer. Let me fix that. Footer.php. And then you have optional files like the functions.php file. These are used to do special functions For instance, create widget positions. When you build a WordPress theme, you don't need to have widget support, but if you do, then you'd create a functions.php file, and then you'd put some stuff in there, which I'll show you in the next section. And then you can also have extra JavaScript and an images folder. For the theme that we're going to build, we're not going to use images. It's going to be all CSS, so we're not going to have an images folder, but you could if you wanted to. And here's some more of the common template files that you may find in a WordPress theme: index.php, header, footer, page.php, single.php, sidebar, author, fix this, comments.php, and search.php. Now I can tell you now the files that we will be using, and I guess I'll go over a quick explanation of each one. First of all, we have a header.php. In this file, we will have the opening HTML tag. We'll have all the head info. So when I'm assuming you know some HTML. In every HTML page, there's a head area where there's an open head tag and then a close head tag. And in between that, you have things like the page title. You have links to your style sheets, JavaScript sometimes, stuff like that. So all that goes into the header.php file. And also, you can put some of the body in it as well. In our header PHP, we'll have the opening body tag, and then we'll have an opening container div, which will be the container for all our content. So that's what our header.php will include. And then the footer is the opposite. It's the bottom of the template. So you'd have the footer, and you'd have the closing body and closing HTML tag. And then we can go to the sidebar PHP, which will have the information, the content or the code that you would like in your sidebar of your WordPress theme. You don't have to have a sidebar, but most of them do. Kind of looks kind of funny if it's all one column, unless it's a special kind of site, portfolio or something. So that's the sidebar. And then we have the index.php, which is extremely important because it connects all these. We include these three files into the index.php file. And we also have some loops, some PHP loops, which will check for blog posts, and if there are blog posts, it'll display them through a loop, which I'll explain more and which we'll see in the next section. So page.php it's a template file used for pages. So anything that's not a post, so let's say your About Us page or services, stuff like that, that follows the page.php template. And what else? We're not going to have author, comments, or search. Single.php. What that is a single post. So if you have a row of whatever 6 posts on your home page, and then someone clicks on continue reading or read more, it takes them to that post page, that single post. And that's what single.php is. And that's where you add your comment functionality as well. Alright, so Stylesheet Details. These are, I think the theme name is the only thing that's absolutely mandatory, but you have to have this comment block at the top of your style.css file. And I don't know if you know how much CSS you know, but a comment is this / and the asterisk. And then to close the comment will be the asterisk and then the / At bare minimum, you should have theme name, but I'd suggest putting the theme URL, description, author URL. You can put all that metadata inside that comment block. Alright, so as I said before, you don't need to know PHP, but in order for the template to be dynamic and to interact with the WordPress core system, you need to have certain PHP functions. and you can see they're very short. An example here is the blog info function. It displays information about our site, about our website, and it can take parameters like title. If you have the title parameter for the blog info function, this will display the page title. So it's dynamic because every page has a different title. So that's kind of a placeholder for it. The blog info function also has, we can also use this style sheet URL, which will link our CSS files. So this will go in the head of the website, as well as the title here. WP nav menu, that's the function you'd call to get the menu, the main navigation menu. Get header, get sidebar, get footer. These are just simply including the header, sidebar, and footer PHP files, which we just went over. This is what you would use to include them in your index.php or your page.php file. And then these over here are post specific, so the title would be a blog post title. This would usually go inside of a while loop. The author would give the author name, and then the content will have the blog's main body content. So very easy. You can look all this stuff up at wordpress.org. It has every function that is available and what it does and what it means. So functions.php is another file that it is optional, but if you want to use certain features, you'll need to have it. And here are some of those features: widgets and sidebars, custom navigation menus if you want more than one menu, post thumbnails, custom headers, backgrounds, global functions, and option menus. So if you want to use these parts of WordPress, then you'll need to have a functions.php file, which I'll get into in the next section. So sidebars and widgets, we know that those are the small blocks of code that we can place on our site, usually in the right or left columns, but you can put a widget anywhere. And this is actually the code for the functions.php file. Let's say we want a right sidebar, or the first right sidebar. What we would do is use this register sidebar function, which takes an array of values, and some of the values are the name, which will be first right sidebar, the ID, which is mandatory, would be first right sidebar but with no capitals and no spaces, just like any other ID that you would use for CSS or JavaScript. A description, and then you can have this before title and after title, so this would insert the H2 tags for the widget title. And then you'd have in the template file, or wherever you want to display this first right sidebar widget, you need to use the dynamic sidebar function and then have the ID of the sidebar or the widget position that you want to use. So these two need to match. Okay, so I mean, if you're getting overwhelmed because of the array and stuff, it's pretty easy. It's pretty standard for any kind of position or sidebar. So it's actually really easy once you get used to it. Alright, so that's it. That's my explanation on creating a WordPress theme. So in the next section, we'll actually take what we learned and put it into play. So I'll see you in the next section.